Hey, Bert Salazar here. Last week I did a short video. I think I named it "Your Retirement Life May Not Even Be Close to what you thought it would be." And the reason for that is that life happens. And in that video, I talked to you about a close friend who's not a client of mine. Actually, his son-in-law is his advisor. In which obviously he retired 62, he's now 64. We were having a couple of drinks here in Coral Gables, and he was telling me all the challenges. I already knew that he was going through some issues because we're friends. His goal was to retire and start traveling and living abroad in Europe. I think his wife is from Germany, so they wanted to live there. Then they wanted to live in Italy and Spain and so forth. And about a year ago, his wife found out that she had cancer, breast cancer, stage 4. So she's going through all the trials and tribulations of going through chemo, radiation, and so forth. But he's pretty much at a standstill. He also has a dad, who's going through long-term care. So he's devoting more time and effort to help his father, dealing with that as well. And then obviously he's got a son who's going through a divorce. But that's just to give you a little bit of a recollection about that video that I did. And basically my intent on that video is to share with all of you that your retirement life may not look the same way or the same as you thought it would be. Because we all make plans in a vacuum. We all make financial decisions through a microscope as opposed to a telescope. And the reason why I wanted to do a recap on this now is because, we're going through a bear market. We got this coronavirus that has actually destroyed the market in the last 3 weeks. So I know that your retirement assets don't look anywhere near where you thought it would be, especially over the last 10 years, because most of you have been telling me over the last 10 years that the market has been doing really well and that you have been doing really well in the market. Well, what I can tell you is that even a broken clock is right twice a day. And the reason why a broken clock is right twice a day is because all of those financial decisions that you have been making over the past 10 years prior to this bear market, even a monkey could have done. Because at the end of the day, the market, we were enjoying the longest bull market in the history of our country. And the rates of return were really, really good. So it didn't matter what sector of the market you were putting your money in, you were going to do fairly well. But if you go back historically 20 years ago, the average return for the market, at least as of today, is no more than 3.6%, 3.59 to be exact. And over the last 20 years, even when the market last week was at 23,000 and change, it was just 4.29%. So here's the point that I'm trying to make here. All of you are putting your money in the market, your retirement assets, your investment assets, and so forth. Some of you are smart enough to start using some principal protection program, and some of you are putting money into real estate to diversify, and that's a good thing. But all of you have been putting all your eggs in one basket, and that's the stock market basket, because that market was heading north, and you never thought that it was going to head south at any point in time. So even a broken clock is right twice a day. But here's the challenge that you have today. Now you're dealing with a bear market. Now, some of you may have no choice but to invade principal and interest on those accounts if you're already in retirement or you need some additional funds in order to mitigate your standard of living. So all of a sudden you're taking money out of accounts that are going down in value. So chances are you're never going to recover from this bear market. Some of you may be sitting in cash, not knowing when to get back in because you have already taken a tremendous amount of loss. So a principal protection program, if you do it the right way, will more than likely be suitable for the vast majority of you. Obviously, due diligence have to be done, to make certain that the recommendation of a certain option or a certain product would be the right thing for you and your family. Think of it this way. If you lose 50% in the market one year and you gain 50% the following year, then the average rate of return is 0. Okay, and most of you think that way, and this is how you make financial mistakes, because you're not looking at your finances through a telescope, you're looking at them through a microscope. So if you put that exercise to actual numbers, If you have $100,000 and you lose 50%, you're down to $50,000. And then if you gain 50% in the second year, now 50% on 50,000 brings you up to 75,000. So although the average rate of return for that portfolio was 0 over a 2-year period, the actual rate of return was a negative 25% for you. Always remember that the majority of the people, or the markets, they live on the average, but each and every one of you lives on the actual. So you have to be very careful what it is that you do with your money. Also, you got to factor in taxation. Are your investments in a taxable account? Because all of a sudden, if the market is heading south, then you have to liquidate some of those accounts. On top of that, you have to pay taxes on those assets. So therefore, now you have a double taxation from a business perspective. Now, where do you have your assets? There are 3 major buckets or IRS code buckets that you need to be aware of. You have your taxable bucket, your tax deferred bucket, and your tax-free bucket. Your taxable bucket are your emergency funds. Those are your traditional mutual funds, your CDs, your money market accounts, your savings accounts, and so forth. Now, from a taxable standpoint, it is a horrible bucket, but from a liquidity standpoint, it's very good. So you need to keep some of the funds there as well. The tax deferred bucket, most of you know, your IRAs, your 401ks, your 403bs, your TSPs, if you happen to be a federal employee. The money goes in pre-tax, it grows tax deferred, but then when you pull the money out, you got to pay taxes on the whole thing. And many of you, through this bear market that we're going through today, and it's not over by any means, a lot of that money happens to be sitting in a tax deferred account, which is going to be fully taxable at some point in time in the future. And then last but not least, you have your tax-free bucket, and that is comprised primarily of your Roth IRAs and your Roth 401ks and your 7702 plans, which are your cash value life insurance plans, and your municipal bonds. At least in those accounts, even if you have them invested in traditional funds where the markets may be heading south because of a bear market loss, at least those funds, you're not going to have to worry about taxation because the growth of those funds are tax-free. What if you are interested in converting some of your tax-deferred accounts to tax-free accounts? Well, there's a process that you need to utilize in order to maximize the efficiency of those conversions. So again, just wanted to give you a few minutes because at the end of the day, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And the definition of insanity for all of you is continuing to do the same things over and over again while expecting a different result. So if you want any more information regarding this matter, or if you want to talk to me about what's happening in your retirement accounts and what to do about them, feel free to reach out. Area code 786-766-1042. You can also send me an email at Bert, B-E-R-T, at GablesTaxGroup.com. And if you want to schedule a 30-minute video conference, what I'm doing here with you today, feel free to do so. There's no cost. There's no obligation. I'm giving back to all of you, and I'm trying to provide you with education because at the end of the day, information without education always leads to failure. And always remember that my goal for each and every one of you is to help you change the way that you see things, because when you change the way that you see things, the things that you see change. So thanks very much for giving me a few minutes of your time, and I'll talk to you again soon. Take care.